Welcome to the video lecture series on sociology. Today we'll be discussing second chapter from the class 11 textbook, that is Introducing Sociology. And the name of the chapter is Terms, Concept and Their Use in Sociology. In this chapter we'll be discussing two concepts. One is why do we use various terms and their use in sociology, and the second one is Introduction to Social Groups. Now we know that when we talk about society, and society is made up of various groups, various collectivities, and this is what we are going to discuss in this chapter. We are going to discuss about what are the various social groups are there in the society. Now first let's have a recap of what we have studied in chapter 1. Now we have an idea about what is sociology and society. Now we know that the central task of sociology is to explore the interplay between individual and society. When we talk about sociology, we study the relationship of an individual and society. And we also know that the individuals do not float freely in society, but they are part of collective bodies like family, tribe, caste, clan and nation. In this chapter, we'll be discussing more on the kind of groups individual form, stratification system within which individuals and groups are placed, and the way social control operates. So in other words, we can say that in this chapter we'll be studying how society functions. Harmonious or conflict-ridden society, we have to find out whether the society is harmonious or whether it is conflict-ridden. We'll find out whether the status and roles which are given in the society, they are fixed or they are changing, and how is social control exercised in society, and what kinds of inequalities exist in a society. So these are the basic things which we'll be studying in this particular chapter. Now let's come on to why do we need specific terms and concepts in sociology. We use the terms like status, role, social control in everyday life. Then why do we use the specific terms in sociology? Like had it been some another subject like nuclear physics or any science subject, we know that the subject matter of these subjects are unknown to most of the people, and we do require terms to explain certain phenomena. But when we talk about sociology, we are talking about society, and many a times we are talking about things which we are very familiar with. Say for example, family. Now the thing is that when we talk about sociology and when we talk about having different terms in sociology, the main reason why we need to have terms in sociology is that we feel we know everything about it, and this is what we discussed in our first chapter also, because when we feel that we know a lot of things about it, that's a naturalistic way of explanation, and this is what we have to avoid in sociology. And that's why when we talk about terminology, it is more important for the subject like sociology. So this is the reason why we need to have the number of terms and specific terms in sociology. And now let's come on to the concepts. When we talk about the concepts, we have actually read in the first chapter that the certain material and intellectual developments shape the sociological perspectives as well as its concerns. The way sociology has its own biography and history, likewise all these social concepts do have a story to tell. Many concepts reflect concerns of social thinkers to understand and map the social changes from pre-modern to modern society. Say for example, it's their observation that the simple, small and traditional societies, in these societies there is a close and often face-to-face interactions, and in modern and large-scale societies the form of interaction is very formal, and this is how they distinguish the primary group from the secondary group, community from society. So these concepts in sociology evolve with the time, and the way we have different individuals and groups, similarly we have different concepts and ideas. And sociology is the only discipline which is marked by different ways of understanding society. And we have actually discussed in our first chapter when we were discussing about the different definitions of sociology, and we could make out that there is no one single definition which is acceptable to all. So there are contrary and contesting understanding of society. Say for example, we talked about Karl Marx and we talked about the conflict theory. Now the conflict theory says that the conflict is central to any society, and this conflict occurs in a society because of the distribution of resources. There are resources and there is a scarcity of resources, and just because when this issue of distribution comes, there is a conflict in society. But he also says that the conflict leads to the changes and development also. And the second view is by Emile Durkheim, which says that, solidarity and collective conscience. And he says that society is like any organism, when the organism have different parts and all these parts work in coordination with each other. Similarly, in society also we have different parts, and these different parts, they work in coordination with each other. So we have just discussed two viewpoints, two different school of thoughts, and they are totally, contradictory to each other. Now, when we talk about sociology, they understand human behavior from the individual perspectives. They start with an individual, they study their behavior, and this is what we call micro-interaction. Now, and another way of, looking at society and looking at individuals is that, they start studying from the macro structures, which includes class, caste, market, community. They start studying from there, and then they come on to the individual. So the concepts such as status and roles, these are the individual concepts, and sociologists, they do study all these concepts. And the concepts like social control, stratification begin from the larger context within which the individuals are placed. So there are different ways of studying society, and there are different ways of studying individuals in society, and there are different ways of studying the interplay between the individuals and the society. So these classifications and different types and the different terms, it helps us to understand society and individuals, and they are also the tools through which we can understand reality. Now these terms and these concepts, they are keys to open locks to understand society, and they're just the entry points in our understanding, and they're not the final answers. Now when we say that they are key to open the locks, we can also say that when we talk about keys, the keys at times they rust, the keys at times they bend. So at that time, what do? Either we change the key or we modify the keys. In sociology also this happens, because the society is evolving, it's dynamic, it's changing. So these concepts are also like it's there, but many a times it happens that we constantly interrogate and question concepts and the different categories. And there is a considerable unease about the coexistence of different kind of definitions or concepts. The way we discussed just now, the conflict and the structural functionalist theory. But these multiplicity of approaches is very acute, and it is there because the society is very diverse and it's very dynamic. Now let us come on to social group. Any gathering does not necessarily constitute a social group. Aggregate people at same place at same time, share no definite connections with each other. We call these aggregates, and the example of this could be the passengers waiting for a train, for a bus, or like in the airport. These are all aggregates, and we call these groups as quasi groups also. Now quasi group is an aggregate or combination which lacks structure and organization, and whose members are unaware or less aware of the existence of grouping. This is what aggregate is or quasi group is, because the structure of this particular group is totally unorganized, and these people, they are totally unaware, and they are less aware that they have certain common goal. So this is what we call aggregates or quasi groups. And the social classes, status groups, age, gender, they all come in this category. Now these groups, which we said that the social classes, status groups, age and gender, they are all aggregates, they are all quasi groups, but there always a chance that these particular groups can be converted into social groups. And if there is a situation, then say for example, there are certain women in one particular city, and certain incidents happens. So all these women, they collect together, they form a group. Then what happens, that this particular aggregate or a quasi group turns into a social group, because then there is a structure to that particular group and they have a common goal. So now we know that all these quasi groups and aggregates, they can be converted, they can be they can become a social groups, and the reason could be the specific circumstance. For example, when we talk about individuals belonging to certain caste or class or community, at one point of time they may not be organized as a collective body, because at that particular time they might not be infused with that we feeling. So to convert that particular aggregate or a quasi group, we need to infuse that we feeling in that particular group, and then it can become a social group. Now how to infuse that we feeling? There has to be certain common goal which can infuse this we feeling among that particular group. Now we have understood how these social groups emerge, change, and then they get modified. Now let us discuss the characteristics of a social group. What forms a social group and what are the characteristics of this social group? And one is that the persistent interaction to provide continuity. One has to interact continuously to be a part of that particular social group. A stable pattern of those interaction, the pattern has to be stable, which means that if we are working towards one particular cause, then we need to work for that particular cause rather than shifting our focus here and there. A sense of belonging to identify with other members, that is, each individual is conscious of the group itself and its own set of rules, rituals, and symbols. And then it should have, the shared interest, acceptance of common norms and values, a definable structure. The social group, now we know that it's a collection of continuously interacting persons who share common interest, culture, values, and norms within the given society. Now, this is the most important thing when we talk about social groups in a society. One, they should have, the common interest, they should have certain common goals, culture, values, norms, and the structure has to be organized and they should be working towards, one particular common aim or goal. Now, to understand this social groups, now let's conduct one activity. And what I'm going to do is that I'll just tell you, the different groups and different movements. You just have to tell, what sort of movement was there and what sort of party or organization was there as a social group, in that particular category. Say, for example, caste. When we talk about caste, anti-caste movement. When we talk about caste, is there any political party which is based on caste? If you can mention that. Then the class movement. Are you aware of any class movement or there is any party which focused on the class movement? Similarly, about the women movement, women organization, tribal movement, and the political party which is based on tribes, and the villagers environment movement and a environment organization. These are the certain categories, and you can always have one particular social group against all these categories. Now let's have a recap of what we have learned till now. The first thing is that we discussed about why do we need terms and concepts in sociology. We discussed about the terms differently and the concept differently. Then the different terms and concepts exist and this helps us to understand society in a better way. This is what we discussed about, that even if we have the contrasting views, even if we have the divergent views, it helps us to understand society in a better way. Then the social groups, we discussed about how it is different from aggregates or quasi-groups and how quasi-groups can become a social groups and the characteristics of social groups. These are the things which we discussed in this lecture. And in the next lecture, we'll be talking about the different form of groups, different types of groups which exist in society. And that's all for now. And as we discussed in this particular lecture, there is a lot to observe in society, and in this lecture, since we studied more on social groups, try to find out more about social groups, try to read newspaper, try to look at the different news in the electronic media also, and what all these media and the media messages, they talk about different social groups. So do try to find out more information on this and do share it with us. Thank you very much.